We have just learned that Wisconsin Congressman Paul Ryan is going to be celebrating his one-week anniversary as the Republican Party's vice presidential pick by taking a trip to the great state of Florida on Saturday. Specifically, Mr. Ryan will be campaigning in a place called The Villages. The Villages is a sort of jumbo-sized retirement community about 90 miles from Tampa Bay. And The Villages is as close to a mandatory campaign stop for Republican candidates as it gets. And here's why. As the Tampa Bay Times notes, there are 6 in The Villages. It is one retirement community. It's located in a crucial swing region of a crucial swing state that Republicans really need to win. And here's the thing about those 61,000 registered voters in The Villages. The Villages are really, really, really Republican. There are twice as many Republicans in this place as there are Democrats. And they are super serious about voting. The average turnout in The Villages is 80%. 80%! And remember, there's more than 60,000 voters there. So all of that has made The Villages a perennial stop on the Republican campaign trail. It's where Florida's Republican governor, Rick Scott, you might remember, where he went to do a big, elaborate, tightly choreographed ceremonial budget signing last year. Do you remember this? It was the event that had people in Florida calling him Kim Jong-Rick for a while. It was the event where Governor Scott at one point was just inexplicably surrounded by smiling school children. What are all those grimacing school children doing in the middle of a giant Republican retirement home? Well, according to the Tampa Bay Times, quote, charter school students were bussed in to surround Governor Scott for the signing. They were handed signs to wave, and when Rick Scott was finished with the signing, a man in a Tea Party t-shirt started encouraging the children to chant Rick Scott's campaign slogan. And the Kim Jong-Rick staged enthusiasm with the schoolchildren thing didn't even happen until after the Scott administration had already scoured the area for Democrats and dissenters and had them removed from the scene. Look at this. At the urging of Scott officials, Sumter County Sheriff's deputies escorted a group of more than a dozen Democrats, mainly retirees who live in The Villages, from the event. Staffers and Republican operatives searched the crowd of about 200 looking for people holding anti-Scott signs. They were noted and asked to leave. Those with pro-Scott signs were allowed to stay. So that's The Villages. That's why and how Republican candidates always do photo ops there. Mitt Romney has already been to The Villages twice this campaign season. In fact, The Villages was where Mr. Romney became so moved by his own thoughts about how awesome America is that he awkwardly burst into song.
There's a song that captures that for me. Oh, beautiful, for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains' majesty across the fruited plain. Can you sing that song? I love that song. You know that song? Oh, beautiful, for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains. America.
That's The Villages in Florida. See, I think he thought the crowd was going to stand up and join in like a choir. And then they didn't really, at least not enough of them did, but they did clap for him when he was finished through all that. I mean, they like Republicans at The Villages, even the ones who try unsuccessfully to lead them in impromptu patriotic sing-alongs. So that is where they are sending Paul Ryan on Saturday morning, to a place that is supposed to be a guaranteed Republican win because it is absolutely chock full of Republicans. But don't forget, it is also chock full of older people. Apart from a pretty specific exception, you are not allowed to buy a house in The Villages unless you are age 55 or older. And Paul Ryan is the kill Medicare guy from this Republican Congress. So who knows? Mr. Ryan might find a tougher crowd at The Villages than other Republicans have found, but my guess is it will be pretty tightly stage managed. At least one would expect it would be tightly stage managed. I mean, the Romney-Ryan ticket is only a few days old now, but their campaign has been having a hard time already explaining what they are doing on Medicare, whether they're running on Paul Ryan's plan to kill Medicare, to turn it into a discount coupon program for buying insurance, or whether they are going to run away from the Paul Ryan kill Medicare budget and pretend there is something else to say about Paul Ryan, some other reason why they wanted him on the ticket. I mean, despite the fact that this had to be concern number one for the Romney campaign when they were thinking about picking Mr. Ryan in the first place, the Romney campaign really seems to not have figured out which way they are going on this issue yet, which is just astonishing. I mean, in his first big interview after announcing Paul Ryan as his running mate, Mr. Romney right away started to try to run away from the kill Medicare Paul Ryan plan.
Your campaign has been trying to make this election a referendum on Barack Obama. Now, some people are saying you are making it a referendum on Paul Ryan's budget plan.
Well, I have my budget plan, as you know, that I've put out, and that's the budget plan that we're going to run on.
Ryan, who? Budget one? I have my own plan. That was Sunday. But then the very next day, Mr. Romney started running on the Paul Ryan budget, even specifically on the kill Medicare part of the Paul Ryan budget.
The items that we agree on, I think, outweigh any differences there may be. My plan for Medicare is very similar to his plan for Medicare.
Aha, so Sunday, it's my plan, not his plan. Monday, our plans are the same. Then Tuesday, it turns out, once again, they're totally different. Watch.
This is from mittromney.com, and it sounds awfully like the Paul Ryan Medicare plan.
But it's very different.
Okay, so Sunday, it's my plan, not his plan. Monday, the plans are the same. Tuesday, the plans are very different. Wednesday? On Wednesday, a local reporter in Wisconsin asked Mr. Romney why he was running away from his running mate's plan. So Mr. Romney then started running on the Paul Ryan kill Medicare plan again.
Why now are you distancing yourself, at least from the Medicare portion of the Ryan budget?
Actually, Paul Ryan and my plan for Medicare, I think, is the same. If not identical, it's probably close to identical.
Yay! So that's 4 days. Two totally separate plans. They're the same plan. They're different plans. Budget. They're running on Mitt Romney's budget, which is either exactly like the Paul Ryan budget or completely different than the Paul Ryan budget, depending on, I don't know, what time of day it is. And when you ask them about the overall budget that they are running on, not just on Medicare, when you ask them about the overall economic plan they've got, about what it does and when, look at what happens.
I don't know exactly what that balance is because we haven't, I won't get wonky on you, but we haven't run the numbers on that specific plan.
How many years would it take for the Romney budget to result in a balanced budget?
Wolf, I'm not sure of that myself, actually.
When are you going to tell us where you're going to get the revenue?
Well, we'll go through that process with Congress.
Will we soon see a plan that's specific about which loopholes to close?
That is something that we think we should do in the light of day through Congress.
The Romney-Ryan campaign not only cannot tell you whether or not they are running on a budget similar to or different from Paul Ryan's kill Medicare budget, they also cannot tell you the most very basic bottom line of their own supposed plan, whatever it is.
We haven't run the numbers on that specific plan.
We haven't run the numbers, says the Republican budget guy who they tapped to be vice president about the campaign's budget. Paul Ryan was supposed to be the serious numbers guy. That presumably is why the Romney campaign picked him to be the vice presidential nominee. That's the image that he had, the numbers guy, the specific guy, the clear policy choice guy. Whether or not he ever deserved that image, the campaign is now doing its very best to ruin that image.